Please don't accept what I'm saying just blindly. Because isn't this a reality? Only what has roots in our direct experience has any relevance in our life. You read about love in a book, but that will never give you the direct experience of love. This is the huge difference between knowledge and wisdom. A human being, he can read all the libraries that have been written in the whole humanity. It still won't produce even a single drop of wisdom. Because wisdom comes from direct experience. And it transforms you. It's not just simply on the superficial level of the intellect. So, usually I talk at the beginning of these classes. But please don't accept what I'm saying. Just take it as a hypothesis. A hypothesis is in such a way that you don't need to accept it. You don't need to reject it either. Let's just explore and see. This was what was so striking to me. Because when I was very young, I had a tremendous fear of death. So I started researching. And I started researching into philosophy. I started reading about Western philosophy. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Friedrich Nietzsche, Schopenhauer, these kinds of people. Now what struck me about this was that they all had so many different theories, so many different conclusions. How do I know? How do I know whether what they're saying is right or wrong? And I also noticed something else, that some of them, they're talking about freedom, bringing well-being to man, and yet when I started reading their biographies, I noticed some of them were tremendously miserable human beings. Friedrich Nietzsche, for example, he suffered a nervous breakdown by the end of his life, and he's talking about the freedom of man. So I noticed this, that there seems to be this huge gap of difference between our thoughts, our ideas, our theories, our beliefs, and our direct living reality. And looking around in the world, I saw, okay, all these different belief systems, but Buddhists are suffering, Christians are suffering, Hindus are suffering, Jains are suffering, atheists are suffering, all are suffering alike. Somehow, our belief systems have not managed to bring us freedom. So, what we are investigating here, just accept it as a hypothesis. This is the beauty of the scientific method. We think, okay, the scientific method is something new or recent in the West, but for centuries, this has been the approach in the East. And that's what really struck me when I started looking into the Eastern traditions. Again, I found the same story, many different theories, many different philosophies, but now they were talking about methods, methods for inner transformation. So they said, yes, here's a hypothesis, but you need not accept it. Here's a method, here's a vehicle for you to verify this out of your own intelligence, out of your own experience. So the whole emphasis between the Eastern traditions and the Western traditions is so different, because the East always emphasized direct perception. There's not even a single word for philosophy in the East. I tried looking all over the place, and the word that comes closest to philosophy in the East is darshan. And darshan doesn't mean to think about truth. It means literally to see the truth, to experience the truth of your being. And in yoga, we've always said that if you experience the source of your own being, then it's not different than experiencing the very ground of the creation itself. How is this possible? Naturally, some of you might be skeptical. You think, this is just impossible. How can the human being come to know of the very core of creation, if there is even such a thing? Let's look into this. Just simple logic. Modern science says everything in the universe is just one fundamental energy. Water can become gas, The gas can become water. The water can become solid as ice. The forms are different. The appearances are different. But it's actually the same energy, changing form. We have the tree. We broke down the tree. We made this table. Same energy, different form. So if this is the case with everything in the creation, isn't this the case with your own being? This being must be of the same energy. And consciousness is also energy. What is the state of consciousness in your living? And the modern science says all energy is in a state of vibration. So if consciousness is energy, and energy is in a state of vibration, doesn't this also mean that your consciousness is actually different states of vibration of energy? So, by perceiving different levels of consciousness, you are also perceiving different levels of energy that exist in the universe. So your perception, it's a bit like a rubber band. Imagine it's like a rubber band. It can be stretched, it can be contracted. Some of you have experienced this, everybody has experienced this. What happens when we go to sleep? When we go to sleep, the boundaries of our perception become smaller, 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 until eventually everything disappears, even you disappear, at least in your experience. So in the same way, just like your perception can contract, you can also expand the boundaries of your perception to include other levels of reality which are right now not in our experience. So, the human ear can hear certain frequency ranges, but there are other levels of vibration. The dog whistle, if you blow into the dog whistle, you will not be able to hear it. The dog will be able to hear it. So there are other levels of vibration that exist, but which has not entered into our experience. So the whole science of yoga is a science for inner exploration, as we have a science to explore the outside nature. There's another type of science to explore the inner territory. And think about it. Why is this important? The conscious mind of the human being, it's a bit like an island on the surface of an ocean. The rest of your mind is like the vast ocean itself. And this is something which psychologists have always been talking about, that the reason why your conscious mind is doing the things that it's doing, it's all because of forces that are hidden beneath the surface. What's happening in your subconscious, what's happening at the level of your unconscious. So one person, why he gravitates in this way in life, somebody else, he gravitates in another way in life. To put it very simply, memory. This is actually what karma is. Please, when I say karma, don't have some kind of mystical notion about karma. The word karma, it just literally means action. So psychological karma is just this. All the influences of past memories which are manifesting in the present moment. So to have a deeper insight into yourself, you need a deeper insight into the karmas that the human being has gathered.